Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know, New Japan continues with more of the New Japan Cup, but this time we have the second round matches. But the main event is the one you don't want to miss out. As you know, Evil declared as the War Dogs expelled from the Bullet Club, but this time, David Finlay, the leader of the War Dogs, decided I'm going to take matters in my own hands. So the war between the House of Torture, or should I say the House of Losers, are now going to war against the War Dogs after what they pulled. But the real question is, will Evil's usual shenanigans make them advance, or will David Finlay's savage ways will finally get a little upper hand on them? That's a very good question. And then, of course, we have NXT Roadblock featuring the double championship main event. Julia will defend the NXT women's title against her rival back in the day, Stephanie Vaquer, for the North American Women's Championship. But the real question is, who will walk out with both belts? That's going to be an interesting question. But first things first, we're going to go do two back-to-back reviews with the ChocoPro from two different events that they had. Number 433 and 434. So that's going to be a lot of fun to do. And then, of course, we will cap up our episode, as always, with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everybody, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, I can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, got real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, do Nagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have been said. Beam me up, Scotty, so let's begin with our very first review, and this is ChocoPro number 433. Okay, ChocoPro number 433. This took place recently in Ichigaya Square. As always, this was back on March 8th. So basically, that's what you need to know. As always, we have our opening with Balinaki this time, giving the greetings and the info of the entire show's event, who is going to be there. So we'll get to that right now. So let's begin with our first match. Our first match is tag team action. We have Nonoka Seto teaming up with Shin Suzuki to take on who is it? Oh yeah, Masahiro Takanashi and Antonio Honda. So basically, you all know there's some strengths in that. Of course, don't forget, Nonoka Seto may have maybe a year and a half in her experience, but when it comes to Shin, well, we know about a bit him what he can do. However, when it comes to Masa, we know he's a bit of a slick, clever wrestler to find ways to ensure he wins. And as for Antonio Honda, well, we know his comedic way has always been a big help. But however, it was Honda who picked up the win when he applied, of course, a submission onto Seto, and just like that, she had no choice but the tap. Our next match, we have Kaho Hiromi teaming up with Rina Yamashita taking on So What? Shonshiru and Violence, Smiley Violence, Sayaka. Nothing too special. Now, we do know a bit that, when it comes to Kaho, she's a bit of a cute little girl who always find ways to uh, get the job done, even for someone of her size. But unfortunately, that did not do any favors for her, despite the fact that she's a bit more clever, a bit more faster, and more agile for her age. It cost her the match when she got pinned by Chonchiru, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Our main event, we have Hiroyi Yawada teaming up with Chi Koshikawa to take on the Best Bros, Mei Shruga and Balinaki. Now remember, Chi Koshikawa has issued the challenge for the Super Asia Championship. That match will take place, of course, on the 31st of March. So consider this match as a preliminary matchup before that big day. So you probably ask yourselves, who's going to build up the momentum between those two? Will it be Chi or Mei? Well, that is a very good question because we know that, Chi had her fair shares with the Best Bros, but the factor of this match is Hiroyi, who is in fact the weakest link in this match due to the fact that of her experience, she has about less than a year of wrestling experience, and that was very helpful for May when she applied her submission, and just like that, Hiroyi had no choice but to tap. And just like that, May picked up a momentum match right for her, but she has to pick up the pace. Now for our Jonkin tournament. Well, I wasn't too sure how this was going to go, but the winner for the Jonkin tournament was none other than the very cute Kaho, just like that. So it was a real fun, so I enjoyed it. So I think we are done with this ChocoPro show. Let's move on with the next one that happened the next day on March 9th, number 434. Okay, we continue again with more with ChocoPro. This back in Ichigaya Square. This took place also on the 9th of March, a day after the previous one. This was number 434. Now, for our opening, we did have, of course, Iri Kane. As you all know, she's currently out on injury due to nothing too severe, but at least she's helping out as much as can. Um, she did the usual greeting, the opening. However, the Best Bros were in fact came out to do a little some sort of a promo. I'm not too sure what it was, but we'll get to that. But let's move on with our first match. We have, of course, Shin Suzuki teaming up with a guy named Shota Kawakami. Don't know who he is, but they face, of course, CDK, Masahiro Takanashi, and Chris Brooks. So you probably can guess that this match was going to fall in favor with Chris. But however, everything that, of course, CDK did to pick up the win, they did it precise. But Kawakami, oh effing god, he kicked out everything that they throw at them. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough until finally Shota kind of gave his body gave out on him, and Masahiro Takanashi picked up the win by pinfall. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Our next match, we have singles action. Hiroya Yawada teaming up with one half of the Asian Dream Tag Team Champions, Tokiko Kirihara. So, of course, you will all think this is how it's going to end. Many of you already had it in the picture of your heads. Tokiko has the better experience due to the fact that she has maybe about 4 or 5 years of experience As for Yawada, she has less than 1 year, and that kind of plays out. And of course, just like that, it was over by pinfall. Just 1, 2, 3. Adios. Now, main event. We have Nonaka Seto teaming up with, of course, the Ektarts, consistent of Chiko Shikawa and Hagane Shino. They take on Kao Hiromi. Oh, and she teams up with the Best Bros. Now, it doesn't take a genius that this is another preliminary match between Chi and May, because I did mention in the last review where May will defend her Super Asia Championship against Chi at March 31st. Fair warning. So the real question you ask yourselves, who's going to get the momentum on this match? As you all know, in the last review, I did mention May picked up the momentum on that one. But the real question is, will May finally get another momentum on this one? Or will she finally build up a momentum for herself to get a one-up on May? Well, of course, we will see a little bit of shenanigans coming. I mean, when it comes to Kaho and May, they're like an unstoppable force. They're like sisters who just play around too much. That always helps out. But she's too much energy. We all know her capability. And of course, the rivalry between both Hagane and Balanaki is a question we have seen over time. But however, this match ended with an amazing pinfall by the Best Bros by pinning both Chi and Hagane, and just like that, May picked up the momentum on this particular match. And just like that, it was over. As for a jogging tournament, well, this one ended, of course, with Masahiro Takanashi picking up the win when he defeated Kaho, which was very sad, but very disappointing for me. I mean, I like to see Kaho win. She's really, really, really fun to look at. I mean, just because the way she acts like, a little girl who can get away with anything. But nonetheless, next time. But as of right now, we are officially done with ChocoPro. Let's move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Day 3 of New Japan Cup. Now, we're now entering the second round matches, but we'll get to that. So let's get started with our first match. Our first match, we have trios action. We have Daiki Nagai teaming up with Satoshi Kojima and Yuji Nagata to take on Katsuya Murashima, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Hiroki Goto. Now, of course, this is another preliminary matchup between Nagata and Goto for the IWGP World Heavyweight title that will happen soon enough. So you probably ask yourselves who would get the momentum on this one. So far, we have seen from both sides who had a momentum. You'll see instances from Nagata and instances from Goto. However, this match ended with, of course, Nagata applying a crossface into Murashima, and just like that, Murashima had no choice but the tap. So that means this momentum goes straight to Nagata, but Goto, I'm sure he's taking notes and taking consideration what he needs to understand until they first cross paths into their championship matchup. Our next match, we have Bullet Club, consisting of Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Drilla Maloney, taking on the United Empire, TJP, Cal Newman, and Jeff Cobb. Now, of course, there's a factor of this match that many of you knows. Those who know this, Drilla Maloney used to be a member of course, of the United Empire. I'm sure this is a moment where, of course, TJP will love nothing more to get even for Drilla Maloney for betraying him, and of course, the United Empire about 2 years ago. If you guys don't remember what happened, this is what happened. When, of course, Akira and TJP were the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, Clark Connor shows up declaring the next challengers, but the real question did ask who was his partners. Well, Drilla Maloney was standing right beside them, and this is when he was still a member of the United Empire. He stabbed them in the back, and it revealed he sided with the Bullet Club War Dogs. Now, some of you may question why. Well, Joe Maloney, he seems like the kind of guy who's saying, look, I like to go out for a smoke, go out for a beer. Well, the United Empire are trying to make me be a bit of a goody two-shoes, which is understandable. And I mean, yes, you can't change someone who they are. And I'm sure this is a revenge plot for TJP, long waited. But however, this match ended with, of course, Chase Owens taking a tour of the islands by Jeff Cobb. And just like that, 1, 2, 3. it was over. Now, next match we have Toru Yano, Yado El Fantasmo, and Bolton Oldleg taking on LIJ's Bushi, Yodatsuji, Tetsuya Naito, and Shingo Takagi. So many of you may question, okay, what's going to be happening here? Well, that is a very good question. I mean, we know that there's some factors. El Fantasmo could be taken out for hopefully a shot of the New Japan World Television title, or Shingo Takagi, since he's the IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion, and Naito being one half of the Tag Team Champion. So anything could go. But however, Yado was the one who ended up on the wrong side of a leg lock by Naito, and he had no choice but to tap. And just like that, Naito refused to let go, but he did. So we'll see where that goes from there. Our next match, we have the Bullet Club War Dogs, Sonata and Gabe Kidd taking on Just Five Guys, consistent of Taka Michinoku and Taichi. Now, as always, we know that Taichi wants a piece of Sonata for his betrayal. And of course, this match ended with Sonata applying a Skullen on Taka Michinoku, sending a direct message to, of course. But however, here's the interesting part. On the next second round matches, Taichi will take on Gabe Kidd. And I'm sure Gabe Kidd will love nothing more to break him. Our next match, we have Tomohiro Ishii and the return of Shota Umino. Now, here's what becomes interesting. Those who have seen Shota Umino, he likes to show up near an area, but this time he came in with in the same look, the same entrance as Tomohiro Ishii, but he covered his hood with his head with a hood, and then revealed himself. But he wasn't acting like he used to be. But however, he's facing a guy that he will face in the second round matches of the New Japan Cup the following day. They faced Jacob Austin Young and Great-O-Khan. I'm sure Great-O-Khan took great pleasure that he actually humiliated him, but now I'm sure Shota Umino will love nothing more to get even with him for what he cost him. And of course, that's exactly what he did when he applied a vertical brain buster onto Jacob Austin Young to pick up. No, Ishii did that himself, but Shota Umino, we know the eyes and the prize on Great-O-Khan in the New Japan Cup second rounds. So we will see where that goes. Now, our next three matches are the actual New Japan Cup second round matches. First up, we have Yuya Uemura taking on Yoshihashi. Now, Yoshihashi, we have seen him. He has literally grown up a lot as a singles wrestler. Now, we can put him in a category as a tag team specialist all you want. But when it comes to singles action, he has grown up a lot. But now he's facing a guy who is determined to, like the old saying goes, reach the brass rings. And that's exactly what he was doing. However, Yoshihashi couldn't able to pull off the trigger when, of course, Uemura applied the deadbolt. And just like that, he advances. Next up, a bit of a TMDK showdown. Ryohei Oiwa taking on, of course, his mentor and friend, Zack Sabre Jr. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of good factors. I mean, I have to say, no punches were pulled by both sides. Oiwa is determined to prove people wrong, especially with Zack Sabre Jr. But I have to say, he really pulled it off. But Zack Sabre Jr. was the one who came up with the win when he applied the crucifix. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But I'm sure Zack Sabre Jr. is very proud of Oiwa that he didn't hold back. He didn't try to pull up emotions during the match. And I'm sure Zack Sabre Jr. sees in Oiwa that one day, kid, you will be IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. You just got to fight your way through in every obstacle. And I'm sure Oiwa will be proud to see him proud that he actually can pull it off. Now for our main event. This one, I guess everybody's been waiting for. The showdown between the House of Losers and the War Dogs. So, as you all remember, during the new beginning in Osaka, Evil was declaring that, of course, that the War Dogs are now expelled from Bullet Club. Now, we all can agree that Evil has been a delusional individual. Not to mention, last year, he spent the entire year claiming that he was the president of New Japan, which, of course, Tanahashi was the one. But he eventually lost everything, unable to defeat Tanahashi. And now, he's living the delusional that he's the one in charge of Bullet Club. Now, but the real question is, what Finlay will make of it. Well, I'm sure Finlay does not appreciate this one way or the other. But however, of course, when it comes to Evil, he has those morons by his back. And we're talking about Yujiro, Sho, Kadamaru, Ren Narita. Well, David Finlay had Ghetto, Gabe Kidd, and of course, Drilla Maloney. But Clark Connors was not there. Neither was Sonata or Chase Owens. Of course, this whole thing was going to go in every opposite direction, wherever they want to go. But the way this match was going, you know that Evil would do whatever it takes to win. But the one thing that was interesting is Sonata. He showed up out of nowhere, just watching. Didn't do a damn thing. But I think people are questioning what is going on in the mind of Sonata. And I'll explain a little bit about that. But however, this match ended with, of course, with a count out by a count out, leaving Evil outside the ring, out of the tournament. But David Finlay, of course, winning. But I'm sure he's also thinking what everybody's thinking. What is on the mind of Sonata? Why didn't he help them or anything? I guess many people forgot about one thing about Sonata. Those who remember this or not, Sonata used to be a member of LIJ along with Evil, and those two were tag team champions, and they were tag team partners. But of course, we all saw what happened with Evil when he betrayed Naito, and then Sonata left Lij, and then Evil was trying to declare himself as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. But even though we don't know what's going on, so if I was David Finlay, I wouldn't trust Sonata for the time being until you can see where his loyalty lies. So I'm sure he will take that in consideration, and we will see what happened down the road. But for now, let's end things here with New Japan and move on with our last and final review, NXT Roadblock. Final review, NXT Roadblock in New York City. We open up with championship match. We have the TNA World Tag Team titles on the line. The current NXT Tag Team Champions, Fraxium, consistent of Nathan Frazier and Axiom, will take a challenge for hopefully to become double champions against the GOATs of Tag Team Wrestling. We're talking about the Hardys, Matt and Jeff Hardy. So you probably ask yourselves, could the Hardys pull it off and prove that they are the GOATs of the tag team division in the world? Well, that's a test they had to put themselves against a team that has so far were able to keep their luck and continue on. But however, that did not do any well for them until Fraxium accidentally took out Nathan Frazier, and then of course Frazier ended up on the wrong side of the Swanton bomb by Jeff, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, the Hardys retained the TNA tag team belts. But the real question we ask ourselves from here, where does Fraxium go now that they were unable to obtain the TNA tag team titles? Well, we just gotta wait and see. Now, as all of you know, Jada Parker mentioned in recently that she will be watching the main event featuring the winner take all match for the NXT Championship and the NXT Women's North American Championship. And Jada Parker was joined by someone who has been known to held every title there is. We're talking about Mickie James. And of course, Mickie James told her that you are the type of person who should not be waiting for the call the to look for a shot. You should be the one to make that call yourself. Go over there and take that moment. And that's exactly. But it hinted that maybe she'll be challenging for whoever walks out at Stand and Deliver, which most likely could happen, but we'll see. Now, the D'Angelo family, as you know, are still dealing with the aftermath of what happened last week. Of course, Tony D'Angelo losing the North American Championship to Sean Spears. However, I'm sure Stacks feel responsible for what happened. He's determined to finish it off, but Tony D'Angelo feels we got this. So basically, we'll see more of them. Now, we do see, of course, Roxanne Perez making her presence known all the way to the ring to deal with Jordynne Grace. Remember, Roxanne Perez feels that Jordynne Grace should not have been in NXT. Basically, she, as an outsider, should not be in NXT whatsoever. But Jordynne Grace was not going to take that crap from her whatsoever until Jordan applied the Juggernaut driver, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Roxanne Perez, well, bye bye. Now, before Obafemi goes to the ring to deal with, of course, Moose, he had a very words of advice from none other than one of the best wrestlers alive that we have watched. We're talking about The Undertaker. Undertaker told him, I don't need to tell you what's at stake. I need to tell you how great you are. But do one thing. Protect your yard. And he just gave him the fist bump. And basically, Obafemi understands. He doesn't need to explain about his capabilities. If Undertaker saw who he is, then he's telling him, dude, protect your kingdom. Protect your land. And that's exactly what he did. So he was facing against Moose. Moose, who feels that he is the franchise who should be at the top. That's exactly what he was intending to do for the NXT Championship. We have been seeing it. And of course, Moose is saying his time is now. But the real question we ask, will Obafemi protect his kingdom, or will Moose invasion says otherwise? But however, Moose did everything in his power to take out Obafemi until Oba applied a pop-up power bomb, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Obafemi retained the belt and he protected his yard. And just like that, it was over. Now, as you all know, Fallon Henley is still complaining and bitching about when she's going to get her rematch for the Women's North American Championship. And she was complaining about this with Ava. However, Ricky Stark's like, damn, everybody is so angry. And of course, in Fatal Influence, we're saying, maybe Rich Holland was right about you. You don't belong here. So basically, he's like, didn't want to do. But however, of course, Ricky Starks had something on his mind. And he was kind enough to tell this to Ava. To look, I have a problem with Rich Holland. And it's like, no, don't say it further. I know where it's going. You want Rich Holland? How about this? Next week, you two. And of course, Ricky Starks had no problem. However, Ethan Page, had to say he's a total hypocrite. He called Ricky Starks an outsider. Hello? Wasn't he outsider too? And I have to say, Vic Joseph did the same thing. He was the original outsider, And you see the hypocrisy. Ethan Page acted like he belongs there, but he's banning the fact that he's an outsider. Now, speaking of Ethan Page, he makes his way to the ring for the New York City street fight against Javon Evans. Now, these guys have been going back and forth for months, declaring that Ethan was going out telling Javon Evans, you're not that guy. You'll never be that guy. But Javon Evans doesn't care what he's saying. He's making headways. He has proven it time and time again. That's what he's been doing. And of course, Javon Evans has been hurt thanks to Ethan Page. So this match was going to be who's going to end up in the hospital. But it was Javon Evans who prevailed when he applied a springboard cutter on a chair around the neck of Ethan Page. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he picked up the win. But however, all hell broke loose once again. As you all know, we don't know the name of these guys, but I like to call them the Shield 2.0 until the actual name is announced. Just made their initial attack and statement on Javon Evans. I don't know what Ava will have to do about this. I mean, things are getting out of control. So we'll see where that goes from there too. Now, as you know, we've been seeing Sean Spears creating his own family. First, he recruited Brooks Jensen, then Nico Vance, and then finally Izzy Dame. So the real question is, what do they call themselves? Well, the name of themselves is called The Culling. So basically, that's the name. It's Culling. So that's the name. Now, we did see an interview with Sarah with Eddie Thorpe. As you know, Eddie Thorpe once again will go head-to-head with Trick Williams, and this time in an NXT Underground, until Trick Williams took matter of his own hands and whooped that Trick, just like that. Now for our main event. The NXT Women's Championship and the NXT Women's North American title are both on the line. Winner take all. Now remember, even Vic Joseph or Corey Graves, one of the commentators, acknowledged that this was not the first time these two met. this happened in Stardom when, of course, if you guys remember, it was Stephanie Vaquer who dethroned Julia of the New Japan Strong women's title that prompted her to leave Stardom to go to Marigold. And that's exactly what happened. However, we know that these two have faced off before, and it wasn't pleasant until, of course, Stephanie applied two SVPs on Julia, and with those two, she becomes not only retaining the women's North American Championship, but now becoming the NXT Women's Champion. I mean, it feels like deja vu once again with Julia, losing to her twice, but nonetheless, we know Julia did really, of course, bursted great. But now we're gonna see what Stephanie Vaquer can do. So we'll see what happens next week, and I'm sure we all know Jada Parker will make her play against Stephanie. But for now, let's end things here with NXT, and we're officially done with our reviews. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin as usual with the upcoming events, starting with GCW stuff. Now, as you know, on the 16th of March, they will be in Atlantic City for a 2-day event. On night 2, they'll have the So Much Fun event. They announced that Richard Holiday will take on Pero. And then the following month, during WrestleMania week, Bloodsport 17, I believe, on the 17th of April in Las Vegas. As you know, she was recently she is no longer with, of course, AEW, and now she's a free agent. Layla Hirsch has been announced to participate. So I have to say it didn't take that long for her to be booked somewhere. So it's great to hear that she's already going somewhere. Now, Prestige Wrestling for Roseland 11, taking place on the 12th of April. We have a match that was scheduled. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Matt Brannigan. Now, as you know, Sparky Joshi Puroresu of America will be in Las Vegas during the WrestleMania week on the 17th of April. They just announced, of course, Color's very own Saki will be there. As you know, Saki is a current champion with the promotion, so I think the Pacific champion, I believe. But we'll see. Now, as you all know, Dragon Gate will be in Las Vegas as well. They have a 2-day event on April 16th and April 18th. Now, some talent has been announced to participate in the shows, but they were, I will say which ones will be, of course, being participated. First up, we have Mike Seidel, not Matt. Mike is the brother of Matt Seidel. He will participate on the 18th of April show. Oni El Bandido also will be participating on April 18th. We have Rich Swann. He'll be participating in both shows on April 16th and April 18th. And he's not the only one. So is Kukui, formerly known as El Brige. And then, of course, we have Sinner and Saint, Judas Ikra and Travis Williams. They will participate on the 16th of April. And then finally, the current GCW World Tag Team Champions, Garbage Daddies, Alec Price and Cole Radrick will participate on the 16th of April. So that's pretty much the participation for Dragon Gate on both the 16th and 18th of April. Now, it turns out another promotion will be participating in Las Vegas, but I did not know about this one. Texas Wrestling Cartel for Mob 3 on the 18th of April, and they just announced their favorite son, Fuego del Sol, will be making his presence known. And then finally, as you know, Kitsune Women's Wrestling will have a 2-day show, one here in San Diego on June 7th, and the other on June 8th in LA. And they just announced another Yoshi wrestler will be participating, Nagisa Nozaki. So it's pretty sweet to hear that she's going to participate. Hopefully I can get a chance to go. I really want to. So we'll see. I think that's pretty much it for upcoming events. Let's talk about some developments. Now, you may have been hearing rumors circulating about Shinsuke Nakamura that he'll be leaving WWE. However, there's been a rumor circulating that WWE will not be renewing his contract. It's still unclear what's going on. I know some of you may question, will there be any chances that he'll go to Japan? I don't know for sure. So this is only what I've been hearing, guys. Until I hear something otherwise, we'll go from there. Now, as you know, Natalya has been spoken with Ariel Helwani. She's been talking about how she was screaming for change with her current her career with for a while, and she was saying this is why she is going to Bloodsport and NWA. I mean, we haven't been seeing her that much, even though she re-signed with the company last year. So we'll learn more. Now, some of you may have heard about this. I did not expect this one. It appears that CJ Perry and Miro, well, as you all know, last year they split, and now they got back together, renewing their vows. I'm like, wow. I cannot imagine what happened. I don't know the full extent. I mean, it's crazy, but I'm sure they will give us a story about the main reasons why they're back together. I'm sure they may have had a long talk about their future, but we'll see. Now, there's been talk about, of course, what happened this past Sunday on AEW Revolution about the main event. Brian Alvarez mentioned something. Let me put this out for all of you. Let me pull it out to read it. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. This is what he said. There was apparently some idea for the main event that involved a way more people that ended up being out there, including some return. At the last minute, it just got axed. I don't know who it was or what they were going to do, but there was a second plan that didn't take place. So basically, there was an idea for the ending. I'm sure that many of us were not happy with the results of Jon Moxley winning the match, but I mean, we don't know what the full extent. If there was something like this, it's probably something that may either was dumb or stupid. I don't know, but hopefully something like that will happen. And then finally, as you all know, Scott Steiner, he had an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and they were talking about why Braun Breaker did not took the name Steiner, because we all know that Braun Breaker is his nephew, and of course, um, Braun's dad, Rick Steiner, is also a wrestler. But this is what he had to say about that. Well, they never shied away from that because he introduced us at the Hall of Fame. So for whatever reason, they used Braun Breaker, but they know he's a Steiner. So I think Brock, Scott's son, will probably use the Steiner name. I'm not sure if it'll be Brock, but it'll be Steiner. So basically, I think that's a very good question. I mean, we all know that Braun Breaker is the son of Rick Steiner and the nephew of Scott. And of course, we don't know what was the main reasons why they could not give him the name, but it seems like most likely his son, Brock, will most likely take the name. But he's saying that most likely they could let him keep his name, but not the first name. So we'll see what happens when his son makes the debut. So I'm sure we'll be anticipated soon enough about it. But as for right now, we are officially done with everything else. Let's just call it a day. Okay, well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have more with New Japan in the New Japan Cup. We got more second round matches taking place. And then, of course, we have AEW Dynamite. We enter the fallout. We don't know what the extent is going to happen. With Jon Moxley now retaining the AEW World Title, we'll see what things will progress. And also we haven't decided what others events I might review. I haven't decided yet because there's so much to cover up. But as of right now, we'll leave things as it is. Priority is New Japan and AEW Dynamite. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, I'll say this, that I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.